The Australian Drugs Conference in Melbourne today called for a trial of needle and syringe programs in Australian prisons. More than 350 of Australia's drug and alcohol treatment experts voted and only one delegate opposed the motion. 1 in 3 Australian inmates has hepatitis C, and it's thought that a needle and syringe program could reduce the incidence of blood-borne viruses in jail. Steve Kinane reports.
In 1985, harm minimisation became a central part of Australia's national drug strategy. Since then, needle and syringe programs have helped reduce rates of HIV and hepatitis C infection. The Department of Health describes the programs as one of the major public health success stories. But the institutions which have the highest rates of Hep C are still denied these programs.
We've been studying hepatitis C transmission in prisons in Australia for about 9 years now, and we don't see any change. About 1 in 3 prisoners who inject drugs gets hepatitis C in prison. Outside, the rate of infection's going down, but in prison there's been no let-up.
The rate of hepatitis C in the general community is about 1%. Inside prison, it's around 30% for men and 50% for women. Vicky Roach got out of jail last year. This week she delivered the keynote address at the Australian Drugs Conference.
There have been multiple near-fatal and other very critical overdoses in the last month.
Vicky Roach says that sharing needles in jail is common.
In my experience, while I was inside myself, it was not uncommon for the one needle to be circulating the whole prison.
The vast majority of the delegates surveyed at this conference favoured needle and syringe programs in prison.
We've tried to control drugs from getting into jail. It's failed. We've tried to control the demand for drugs. It's not 100% effective. We therefore need to control the damage from drug use. That means we need a trial of needle and syringe programs in the prison system.
But the Prison Officers Union is opposed to the idea.
It's an absurd comment when you consider that people go to jail because some of these people do have drug-related issues, and we're just going to keep feeding their habit and giving them the utensils to do it. We may as well not put them in jail.
This year, the Australian prison system was the closest it's ever been to trialling a needle and syringe program.
Recently, the ACT opened their first prison, and I know at the start of that they were openly discussing and talking about putting in a needle and syringe program. We haven't seen that come to fruition. Not quite sure why at this stage, but it is an excellent opportunity with a new prison.
The ACT government says it won't consider a trial until the new prison has been operating for at least 18 months.
Our task, in fact, is to help people get off drugs and stay off drugs. And so we want to see how our programs doing that are going to work against the concept of harm minimisation.
Prison officers fear more needles in jails could mean more weapons used against them. Back in 1990, a prison officer at Long Bay Jail was attacked with a syringe.
Well, the history of it is Jeff Pearce was unfortunately stabbed with a HIV-filled syringe. Subsequently died some years later in tragic circumstances just by trying to do his job. It sticks very badly in all officers' minds, and it's something that does come up very quickly when you do talk about needle exchange programs in the system.
Needle and syringe programs are already operating in prisons in 11 countries, including Iran. Kate Dolan says they make prisons safer for officers.
Nobody has been attacked with a needle and syringe in any of these prisons in the world. What we're doing with the needle and syringe program is we're removing infected syringes out of circulation and putting them in a safe place. So we're also reducing the needle stick injury, which is quite a serious occupational hazard for prison officers.
Matt Binley concedes he hasn't looked into this research.
No, I haven't, and to be honest with you, I haven't looked into those because of our stance on the needle exchange programs.
Vicky Roach believes the community beyond the prison system will benefit from a change in policy.
It will protect the community from blood-borne diseases becoming rampant as they do in prison, and as prisoners all get out eventually, or most of them get out eventually, those blood-borne diseases come back into the community.
Steve Kinane, Lateline.